4 important questions came to my mind when I wanted to rent an apartment in Germany. First, how to find apartment. Second, how much rent is appropriate. Third, in which area should I rent? And the fourth one, what documents do I need for the contract? Along with these 4 major questions, we are going to discuss and understand all the complexity, challenges, and all small concerns. By end of this video, I guarantee you that you do not need to look for any consultation or guidance for renting apartment anywhere in Germany.
Really?
Here are some short tags, or I would say sub points, that I'm going to cover while answering those 4 main questions. Website to find apartment, tips to find good apartment, tips to stand out among fellow applicants, online rental frauds, Anmeldung or registration process, what is Schufa, how far you should go from the city center, what is warm rent or cold rent, and what are the types of rental contracts in Germany. Now let's answer our first question, how to find flat in Germany. Thousands of YouTube videos out there and they will tell you the same websites that I'm going to tell you now. But there is an important topic that I want to emphasize. Let's first discuss online platforms to find flats in Germany. Basically, there are 3 categories of online portal. First category is traditional and German housing companies. Second category is private flat share portals where the chances of frauds are more. And third category is temporary furnished housing portals like Wunderflat, Spot a Home, Nest Peak, etc. Let's look at these 3 categories one by one.
Category 1.
Immobilien Scout 24, Immobilo, Immowelt and Deutsche Wohnen, these are some old and widely used online platforms that Germans use to rent their properties. Immobilien Scout 24 has a lot of old and new properties from all over Germany. So if you are looking for apartment in the small town cities, then these websites are good options. Buying premium subscription for Immobilien Scout 24 is also helpful because with that you get many advantages like your message to the flat owner will be on the top or you get a free Schufa.
What is Schufa?
Well, do not worry, I am coming to that point shortly.
Category 2.
Private flat share portal is an online property listing portal where people who wants to rent out their property list their flat with all the details. It is similar like housing.in or 99acres.com in India. I have seen a lot of frauds happening here as the platform is public and there is no complete control on it. But you will be surprised to know this. I have changed my apartment almost 3 to 4 times in Germany and I always used wggesut.de to find and rent apartment. Trust me, if you know how to use this portal and how to approach the advertiser of this property, then it is highly possible that you will end up getting very good apartment. As getting apartment directly from landlord without involving mediator agency costs you better rent price.
Category 3.
Like I mentioned, the third category is temporary furnished housing portals. Few of my favorites are Wunderflats, housinganywhere.com, Spot a Home, and if you are looking in Berlin, then there are some agencies like Orbis Apartments, Berlinovo, Berlin99.com, etc. There are some really good options to find apartments on these websites. Now listen carefully. If you follow some tips that I'm going to tell you, then there are high chances that you will stand out among all other fellow applicants as there are hundreds of people applying for the same apartment here in Germany.
Fine.
Tip number 1. Before starting your flat hunt and randomly texting to any of the listing, sit back and create a nice application template or draft to approach any of the flat owner. I have created a template by myself and so far it is working like a pro. Do not forget to mention about you, your work contract, your earnings. If your work contract is unlimited, then also specify that in the application template. Basically, add those points which can give impression of genuineness and decency. Tip number 2. Include supporting documents in your application like recommendation letter, letter from university, Schufa report and identity proof. Now, what is Schufa? Basically, Schufa Holding AG is a company which has all the information about you as a consumer and it gets all the information from the sources like utility supplier, bank, internet provider, etc. The company will track all the bills or the fines over the time. Using this data, they create and record a credit rating score for all German residents. That's why when people say Schufa, they mean a credit score record from this company. Check this website if you want to apply for Schufa report. It's just an online application and you will get it in a few days. If you are moving for the first time in Germany, then instead of Schufa, you can offer similar bank credit score report from your home country. It might be of no use to Germans, but there is no harm to keep these documents along with your applications, right? It anyways gives good impression. Tip number 3. Never send money in advance for any of the property listed on the flat share portals like wggesut.de. If you are in India or in your home country and you cannot really visit the property, then I would recommend to rent the property from the agencies of category 3 like Wunderflat. Take the apartment for 3 to 6 months and after landing here in Germany, you can look for long-term and little cheap apartments. It is relatively less complicated and safe to find apartment being here in Germany.
Fine.
Tip number 4. If you are invited by the flat owner for the flat visit, try to leave a good impression during the visit. And if you really like the flat, don't spend too much of time giving the green signal to the landlord. Now you understood how to find apartment. If you are still here watching this video and if you are liking it so far, then please click the like button. It will take nothing, just a click, but it will feed to YouTube algorithm and the video can reach to those who struggle to find flat in Germany.
Oh, I see.
Now let's answer our second question. How much rent is appropriate? As I said, if you are coming from another country like India and if it is getting difficult to find accommodation, then simply look for the rental on the temporary furnished flat on these websites. But the problem is you might find it expensive as those are fully furnished, easy to book, safe, secure and temporary places. If you are single, moving to metro cities like Berlin, Munich, Frankfurt, Hamburg, etc., then it's good to grab a studio apartment and you will find it within the range of 1200 to 1500 euros. I know that's a lot of money, but these days finding apartment is a big headache. These companies like Wunder Flats reserve the apartments and reduce the bureaucratic headache of the people who want immediate accommodation. If you're a student and if you really cannot afford spending that much of amount, obviously the better option could be student dormitories provided by universities itself or shared apartments. You can get dorms from the universities, ask them and they will guide you, or you can look for dorms on websites like Uniplaces. But as far as I have seen, it is not easy to find places there. So in this case, you can also look for a shared accommodation on wegegesut.de
Where the chances of frauds are more.
and it should not cost you more than 700 to 1000 euros for the room. In general, I can say that check for all the websites that I mentioned earlier, look for their rents, try to figure out how much is the average rent, and that average figure is something that you can consider as a max cap for your rent budget. If you arrive here in Germany, then obviously you will have control on your rent budget, but for now, just keep the average as a cap for your rent. Now let's answer our third question. In which area should I rent? This actually varies person to person. But if you are getting that liberty to choose the location, which is really difficult these days by the way, as demand is high and supply is low.
Beggars cannot be choosers.
But in case if you get a chance to choose a location, then I will suggest to look for distance of supermarket, public transport stops like bus, U-Bahn, S-Bahn stops. See which flat has a convenient access and go for the same. If your apartment has a convenient access to the public transport, then do not hesitate to go away from the city center, as the public transport in Germany is really good. At least in metro cities like Berlin, you can dare to stay away from the city center. I have one more point. Before finalizing the contract, make sure that you check all the details carefully mentioned in the contract. There are two types of rent in Germany: warm rent and cold rent. Cold rent is basically the basic rent that you pay just for the area that you are renting, whereas warm rent is a cold rent plus other utility costs like additional furniture costs, heating charges, and sometimes it also includes electricity and internet. And the rent brackets that I mentioned earlier was about warm rent. Now let's answer our fourth and last question. What documents do I need for the rental contract? Well, few of the documents I already mentioned before that you should attach in your email or in the application message on the portal. But let me quickly show you here the full list of documents. Copy of your ID like passport, salary information or payslip, credit score report like Schufa record or your home country relevant document. You can also attach recommendation letter from your previous landlord if you have. There are some additional and optional documents that you can provide which will nothing but just boost your application and could make you stand out among others. For example, copy of your work contract showing that you have unlimited job contract. Then optionally you can also attach your salary information of your partner. If you can also attach a document proving that you have bought private liability insurance, then Germans are going to be very happy. By the way, there are two types of rental contract: limited and unlimited. Limited contract can be as less as 1 month and as long as 5 to 7 years or maybe more, whereas unlimited contract is without any end date. If you get unlimited contract, then it's really great. You basically have the right to end this unlimited contract by providing notice, whereas landlord are fairly restricted and cannot terminate indefinite contract without good reason. Legally, your landlord cannot increase your rent within first 12 months of your indefinite contract over a period of 3 years. And there will be a provision for any of the rental increase in your contract, so it's worth noting that. Important fact to consider: you have to pay a deposit before moving in, basically to protect the landlord against any damage or non-payment of rent. The exact amount will be specified in your contract, but it legally cannot exceed 3 months rent. A tip for student: if you are low with cash, there is an insurance scheme for the rental deposit. It is a kind of a guarantee set up between you and the insurance provider or bank. So instead of paying a deposit, you pay a yearly subscription fee to the insurance provider. In return, the company becomes liable for the deposit required by your landlord. Check this link for more details. Once you found your room, flat or house in Germany, the first thing that you need to do is register your address at your local citizen's office. And this process is called as Anmeldung. It is important to do Anmeldung as soon as you arrive and sign your contract. However, there is a frequently asked question, do I really need to register within first 14 days of arrival? This rule is not enforced in Berlin as it is hard to get appointment in only 14 days. If you take a few weeks to register, you will not be fined. Just register as soon as you can. Well, I hope I have cleared all the doubts and concerns related to renting flat in Germany.
Are you sure?
If you still have any other questions, please do not hesitate to write them in the comment section. And I wish you a nice day. Bye.